I was pretty surprised this morning to get this news. I mean, in some ways I wasn't, because no matter how great of a human being you are, results are results at the highest level, and you have to have those. Otherwise, it just doesn't matter. And I do want to say really quick that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, excellent player, had obviously a good manager run with Rangers. Mm-hmm. He got them to a European final, got him qualified for the Champions League for the first time in 12 years, and he got sacked after a year at Rangers after a slow start. So it really doesn't matter who you are, what your pedigree is at times. If you don't get results, if your team doesn't look like they're responding to you anymore, it has to be time to move on. Charlie, talk to me about Jesse Marsch and your initial thoughts.
Hey, real quick, Charlie, on a fun fact for everybody, Gio Reyna is named after Gio van Bronckhorst, so that is where his name came from, just for anybody who doesn't know. That is Jimmy's always bringing up relevant. If you're wondering how that ties to the national team, it's tied back to. We always tie it back to the.
We always have to. Thanks, Heath. I appreciate that. Look at all the fun facts coming out of you when you take naps. It's unbelievable. This guy. So Charlie, give me your thoughts on this. Surprise!
No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised for a number of reasons. One, look at the place that they're in. They haven't shown to me, if you're a Leeds United fan, you're not confident that this team is going in the right direction, because last year he came in, it's emergency mode. Everyone's, the panic buttons have been smashed. He comes in and he saves the club. Everyone's happy, fantastic. It's that relief for the fan base, for the players. But you expect to have a certain level in the next season so that you're not in that same situation. And they gave him the funds. It's not that his hands were tied behind his back. He was able to go out and invest. They lost a big player in Rafinha, but they still were able to pick players. They brought Brendan Aronson. They brought Tyler Adams. They even brought Weston McKennie, who didn't start in the first game, but that he was available for. But for me, it's not enough progress. And you could argue, give him a full season. We won't know if this is a good season until they stay up. Because if they stay up, then they made the right decision, or you can't say they made the wrong decision. And I obviously, we want American managers to be successful in England. I love that they gave him every opportunity to succeed and gave him the whole season. But the business now is deliver today. Deliver today. It's not about what you did last season, 2 seasons ago, yesterday. The pressure in the Premier League is to stay up every single season. And I think with that being the case, I'm not surprised.
So I was wondering, Heath, do you think that because when Frank Lampard got fired from, or sacked, the proper word over there, by Everton, and then Sean Dyche comes in and they immediately get a result, right? They beat Arsenal 1-0. That the Leeds ownership group, the board, they see that, they're like, all right, Everton did have some pieces, some special players. It just wasn't working under Frank Lampard. We have maybe something similar. And we know we just signed a whole bunch of guys for him in this transfer window. We haven't really given him any time to explore what that team would look like. But maybe the time is to make the move now and try to get that Sean Dyche effect. I wonder if that had an impact on their decision.
I mean, it very well might have that impact. We know there's that new manager bounce, as they call it. That's a real thing, and obviously 7 games in a row. And when you look back to the season, you saw all the glimpses of what could be. Right? You're like, oh, this is the high energy. It's exactly what you want. They just need to add some foundational aspects of like how to play second halves different than first halves, how to settle into games, how to close out games, how to finish chances, and then you find yourself this far down the line and you're like, has the team actually gotten better? Have they become a better and more complete team? And I don't think I see that. And and like Charlie said, it's not for a lack of spending money. Yes, they did lose some players, but they've also went out and got a lot of players and they spent a lot of money in the transfer windows. And so you think about it now and you kind of go, well, it's that sort of never ending conversation of like the tyranny of the or, which is like, we could do it now, or we wait 1 more week. Well, what happens if you win 1 more week and then you lose the next 5 after that, right? Like at what point do you just go, we know it's not going to change. It's not going to be better. We need somebody who can close us out, keep us in the league, create that new manager bounce that maybe gets us 9 points out of that, because they are very much in a relegation battle. Not to say that there's not 5 teams, 6 teams in that relegation battle right now, but it just doesn't look like they, even if you were Jesse Marsch, you're probably looking at it going, we haven't really gotten as far as I thought we would get to this point in terms of the foundation of what's going to make us difficult to beat week in, week out. There's too many aspects that have to come together every single week for us to win games. And we're, 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5 of those. And in the Premier League, you're not going to get results like that.
Jimmy, you got a chance to go over there, see
did.
Jesse, see the training, see them play.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel that they're missing a goal scorer because Patrick Bamford, yeah, he's had his spurts, but he's not consistent. That's evident. And he went injured. If they had someone who was a true forward, a striker, not a winger converted to playing the 9 position or a withdrawn striker, that they'd be in a different position if they had a goal scorer. And I'm surprised that they didn't invest in a 9, given that that's been the kind of the point from the very beginning.
Well, they got Jorginho Rutter from Hoffenheim, a 20-year-old who didn't start, as you mentioned before, in the Nottingham Forest game. It would have been nice to see what that team would have looked like there. I think there's a big complaint, and I heard this from an agent of a player or two at the Leeds thing, that they didn't play with too much width, and that really handcuffed a few of their dynamic wingers to maybe exploit the space that they could, or play to their strengths in some ways, to play this kind of rock and roll 100-mile-an-hour football. And I don't know if it's almost like if plan A wasn't working for Leeds, what was their plan B? And I think that's where the frustration lied for a lot of teams, as teams
National
adjusted
team.
to what.
High line,
So
exposing yourself, the
transition.
counterattack beats them every time. But Jimmy, like on the same thing though, if you look at Forest as an example, Dane Murphy, American, as everybody knows, steps down from Forest. They get this bounce over the last couple of weeks, and they're not good, but they are finding ways to get results and keep themselves somewhat safely at the middle of the table, even though the club is in shambles right now. Whereas Leeds, huge club, huge opportunities, money spent, and like you said, I think Charlie, that's a great shout. Like that, where are the goals coming from? But when you, maybe in that system, you undervalue the role of the forward because you're meant to win the ball in places where teams are vulnerable and out of position, and it leads to these numerical advantages that lead to quick goals, and so you kind of undervalue the striker in that sense, when maybe that big problem is just not having a striker that can get you the 7 or 8 goals you need in this back half of the season.
And I would think to Jesse Marsch, his most successful season in Major League Soccer is 2018 with Red Bulls. You had Bradley Wright Phillips, proven goal scorer in the league, was almost automatic in the box. But the way they played, I think many would argue was very ugly. There's no attractive nature to the way they play. It's just balls to the wall pressing, throwing 2-3 guys at a ball at a time in the attacking third, hope to transition, go right to goal direct. There's no keeping the ball in possession and swinging it side to side and switching fields. It's very north-south. It's very aggressive. And if you're getting the results, great. Everyone's excited. But when you're not getting the results and playing in that manner, so helter-skelter, I think for me, it's much easier to sack a manager when you have that as your philosophy, rather than, wow, we keep the ball, we don't really give too much away, we're dangerous, we're not getting the results that way, versus, man, look at how they're playing. This is ugly. And they're not getting results.